Good evening, and welcome on into part 2 of From Day 1. As always, let's grab the mailbag first. Items that we've had since last time you and I have had the opportunity to get together. Today's ranking reward, 70 lovely emeralds. And ooh, a piece of candy. 3 more chaos cores. And my first 6 flawless artifact chest boxes. So this comes as a result of the new event that came in, Valkyrie's Artifacts, with the normal you buy, everyone else in your guild gets as a result. And you can see for the 3 cores and 6, they got 100 cores, 160 chests, 60,000 artifact coins, and spent an equivalent of $75 in US. And speaking of that new event, there she is, the Legacy of the Great Ones. So we get a box and 100. For the previous, we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chaos cores. And about 250, 450, 6, 7, 7,500 coin. Now we can come up here and actually collect the Sebastian Soulstones, which, as you can see, automatically now triggers another box here in Legacy called Double Dipping. Sorry. Very nice thing to do when you can. Tonight, for our auditors, First Amendment auditors, sovereign citizens, courtroom appearances, and flat earthers, I'm all alone. Do not have any of my cohorts with me tonight to helm the old good ship Lollipop. But that will be fine, as I actually have us a brand new court case that just happened today. Just looking for Darkstar while I'm talking. In courtroom 3B. There he is. 3B in Judge Middleton's court. Oh. You don't get them from... Yeah, so actually I will need to go back to Ascension, because I can actually click and it'll actually tell me where he is in the campaign. The individual we have in question has a whole ton, okay, there he is, of traffic tickets that he has done. He had gone through one, did not appear till a bench warrant was issued for his arrest. He was supposed to appear in person, but instead only appearing via Zoom in Middleton's court today, with many issues outstanding. So we hop in to Judge Middleton's court. This would be about 3:30 in the afternoon today on February 10th.
Yes, sir.
Now, Middleton is not always 100% direct, so we will have to bear with him for just a little.
Your Honor.
Yes.
Mr. Hale should be logging in. We had a little bit of a confusion. He had 2 separate Three Rivers ordinance matters, and I think that he entered a plea in Judge Patterson's courtroom a couple weeks ago, and he thought that it had resolved both files. And we were playing phone tag all week, so I told him
He has an open warrant for his arrest
for
Deborah.
All right, this is our case they're actually talking about. The defense attorney just came into physical court saying that his client is actually logging in via Zoom to try to handle the judge. Is kind of like reading the lawyer the riot act with everything that this guy currently has outstanding.
Take a look here. He owes money in a no-ops case, and he has a,
No ops case means no operator's license. Means that you didn't even have a driver's license to begin with. It ain't that it was suspended or you didn't actually carry it with you. The claim is that you actually did not have a license, period.
bench warrant on a domestic violence charge 211881FY.
I thought that he had indicated he just got out of jail.
Let's see. I think it just entered.
The defense attorney's trying to mitigate, saying that he just got out of jail, so if there was a warrant, it shouldn't be on him because the court and the jail should have kept him for the additional warrant.
Because when they don't show up and you have a warrant.
Looks like he pled in that case to a DD first with no deferral option back in.
That is the voice of Deborah Davis. That's the prosecuting attorney normally with Judge Middleton here in Court 3B. Sorry.
October. And then maybe he didn't show up after that.
Yeah, he was charged with assault with a dangerous weapon, domestic violence, and he had a pneumatic gun. He was charged with felony firearm.
So we have a domestic violence, felony firearm charge, as well as a lot of traffic. Not looking too good for this guy to begin with.
He was reduced to a misdemeanor. He had a probation violation. His PO is Daniel. He had a hearing in front of Judge Pattison on January 18th and he didn't show up. So Judge Pattison held 48 hours and he failed to appear, and so bench warrant issued. They tried to mail him on February 1st with no response.
That is a normal situation, by the way, the 48-hour. Basically, if you don't appear, they'll file for a warrant, but give you 48 hours to appear in court to state why you weren't there and everything else before they physically order the police to go out and, grab your scruff and bring you in. He was also stating, and we'll get back to him in just a second, that they had mailed a notice out to him stating that this was going on and he was supposed to appear, but that it was never answered.
Response. So they issued a bench warrant yesterday for failing to appear for a probation violation arraignment.
Okay, so the warrant is quite new, actually issued on February 9th, just yesterday. I'm recording this on the 10th, you guys are going to hear it on the 11th. And it's for a probation violation from one of the previous charges that he had had previously.
His lawyer in that case was Timothy Reed. Laura, could you give me a face sheet on Lance Hale, 211881FY?
Face sheet he's asking for basically for like priors. So the judge can see what this guy has been charged with in the previously. See if he's kind of like a first-time offender or if he's got a rap sheet the size of Methuselah type situation here. Is what's being asked for there. Oh, hold on. Looks like we have a promotion. Oh, damn it. I could have hoped.
I'll ask Daniel to join us.
He's asking for the person from probation to come on into the courtroom.
Hello, probation.
Here
Would you
it
ask Daniel to log in to help me with Lance Hale?
Here is John currently logging in. He is the prosecuting attorney from the other jurisdiction.
All right, thanks.
And the defendant has just logged in as well via Zoom.
Good afternoon, Mr. Barnes.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Hale.
Hello.
In a minute here, put the last guy away. This is file number 21-203000826 OI. No proof of insurance. Goes down civil infractions. A bunch of numbers. Driving suspended in file 21-2065 and no valid license plates in 21-2066.
All right, hold on. Let's go back for those charges one more time. Your Honor, if you would, please.
This is file number 21-203000826 OI. No proof of insurance. Goes down civil infractions. A bunch of
Okay, so we have no proof of insurance, aka you did not have insurance or at least had the card on you.
numbers. Driving suspended in file 21-2065.
Suspended driving, aka you got your license revoked or suspended, probably due to multiple infractions previously.
And no valid license plates in 21.
And then no plates. So that suspension then prevented you from going to your state's registrar to either get plates or renew the plates for your vehicle.
2066. Mr. Hale had a previous driving suspended reduced to a no ops in file 202392. He's owes money, hasn't paid that fine off.
So he's had this particular charge before and still owes money from that particular charge. Also not a good sign for the defendant here.
Mr. John Barnes is here because these are Three River City ordinance matters, and Mr. Timothy George is here. I think these were noticed out for live.
Is that the one you want to answer, Marcus?
Yes.
That voice is the clerk of court for the judge you hear in the background, and he's stating that it was noticed live, aka in court and not via Zoom.
You and then I didn't hear you.
That's it. But Mr. Hale is here remotely. Mr. George, what's the circumstance here?
Your Honor, as I had briefly mentioned before we got on the record, I hadn't had the opportunity to speak with Mr. Barnes about this, but we did a couple of weeks ago enter a plea to resolve a traffic case in front of Judge Pattison. And in speaking with my client, he has been contacting my office, just we haven't been able to speak because I've been in and out dealing with other matters. But I think my client was confused and thought that that offer contemplated this case as well. So I think that we need to speak a little bit more about what's going on. So I don't think it's to the point where we need to set it for a jury trial.
Let me see what I can figure out about other cases.
So what the defense attorney here is trying to contend, and he's trying to mitigate his client's actions, is what he's doing with it. He's trying to contend that, hey, the reason why he wasn't here, because he didn't know, and he didn't know because he thought that the previous court appearance took care of everything. Granted, it's probably not going to work, but it is a decent attempt to mitigate what is currently kind of like being a shit show ready to start on down upon his client. Judge is currently trying to take a look and see what else is in there, aka if there's something to justify it or not.
Number 5. He had a no valid operator's license in 2020, and he was fined $475 or 4 days jail due March 21st. So I think that's the one you were talking about.
That sounds
He was
correct.
in front of Judge Pattison on January 14th.
Yes, sir.
That was also an ordinance case, so that's a 2020 case. And in the case of the right hand, maybe not knowing what the left hand was doing, they didn't realize he had another 2021 case.
We knew, Your Honor.
We did?
I'm sorry, we knew. That was,
The prosecuting attorney is just speaking up going, no, Your Honor, you're not going to give him that pass. We knew, and they knew.
specifically discussed at the time that it only resolved that case, and these cases were still pending. And everybody discussed it at the time.
All right, well, I wasn't there. Yeah, this occurred in October of 21. So this is a completely separate matter. He has till March to pay it, so he's not delinquent in his payment. All right, just to put everything on the table, Mr. Hill, there's a warrant for your arrest for failing to appear for a probation violation arraignment on a domestic violence charge. Let's talk about that.
Sir, I never had any paperwork from that. Like I said, I talked to my PO last month, and he was fine. I mean, he didn't tell me that was going for
well, I asked him to log in, but he's gone.
And that is the voice of the actual defendant you're hearing. And he's echoing what basically the defense attorney said. That, hey, I've been in contact with my probation. He never told me anything, so how am I supposed to know that there's this pending sword of Damocles hanging over my head?
So I was looking for something else, and I found there's this open warrant for your arrest. In your domestic violence case, it allegedly occurred in September of 2021. You're charged with assault with a dangerous weapon, domestic violence, and possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. It was reduced to a misdemeanor charge of domestic violence.
That's actually
placed on a probation.
Sorry, Your Honor.
And
there we go. That's actually a big break, because having a firearm in commission of a felony could have sent this guy to jail for several years. The fact that it's been pled down to a misdemeanor is an extreme break for this guy.
that was in October. Then your probation officer filed for a probation violation. You had a probation violation arraignment scheduled on January the 18th. And they set a hearing for January 31st. I think Judge Pattison told you in the courtroom on January 18th that you were supposed to be here on January 31st. You didn't show up. Your lawyer in that case was Timothy Reed. So your probation officer, Judge Pattison, and your lawyer were here on January 31st, but you weren't. So Judge Pattison held it for 48 hours, and then he issued a bench warrant for your arrest. Then they tried to mail it to you to give you notice to the River Street address, and it came back. So they issued a bench warrant for your arrest. But I think you were told in court to be here on January 31st. I don't know where the notice went. So percolating around here also, we have this open warrant. So your probation officer isn't here because he stepped out for a minute. I'm hoping he's going to join us. So let's keep that in the background. You were supposed to be here today live and in person, and I'm not sure what happened, but at least you're here virtually. So Mr. Barnes says, I was aware of this pending charge when we resolved the 2020 charge, and we said we'd take care of this matter separately. So now here we are. Mr. Barnes, is there any plea offer?
Yes, he was going to plead guilty to the driving suspended, and we're going to dismiss the improper plate and no proof of insurance.
So the offer is plea WLS, dismissal else.
So in other words, plead to the bigger of the three charges, and they'll give you a pass on the other two, the no insurance and the no plate.
All right, Mr. Hale, let's talk about that. No proof of insurance is a civil infraction. It carries a fine of $150. Prosecutor would dismiss that charge.
That's actually quite cheap. The no insurance only being $150. GC Central here is actually on the border of 3 states, and the cheapest of the 3 states for a no insurance charge is like $950 in fines, not counting what gets applied by the court for their charges. So $150 is extremely cheap. Maybe we need to relocate to Michigan.
Improper plates carries fine and cost of $200. That is a misdemeanor.
Okay, that's about equal to GC Central location here.
He would dismiss that also. What's left is
So
a
he
charge
dismisses
of
about
driving
$350 of
suspended.
charges.
Now, this is the most serious one because it has consequences on your license. Driving suspended is a misdemeanor. It's punishable by up to 93 days in jail and a fine of up to $500. It carries 2 points on your driving record, and it requires that your license be suspended. In light of that no ops that happened just before this is probably going to cause you a 1-year suspension of your driving privileges. Mr. George, have you had an opportunity to discuss that with your client?
Your Honor, we spoke earlier this afternoon, and I don't know if it's being understood correctly, but in the conversation that I had with my client, I don't think he realized that in the prior plea that was just to that case and didn't resolve both. So, I think that was part of the misunderstanding of why he isn't here today, live and in person, because he thought that these cases had both been resolved. So obviously that's a failure of communication on my part. My understanding is that there's also an outstanding ticket for possession of drug paraphernalia. I spoke with Mr. Barnes earlier today. My understanding was he also wanted Mr. Hale to accept responsibility for that. So, I just don't think that, my client is fully prepared.
See that one in my search.
If he pleads guilty to the driving suspended, then I'll dismiss that one too, today.
That actually is even a better deal, because now he's willing to dismiss 3 charges just to get that one plea on the record. To get him to plead to the one, he's even willing now to throw this new charge into that plea. So he's willing to give him 3 off for the price of 1. But he's trying to now be like, dude, I don't want to go any further with this. He has to do it today. If he doesn't, it's off the table.
Accepts the offer.
All right, let me.
But if he doesn't, then it's all still back on the table. But, I don't know, I don't think Mr. George was involved when we were back in front of Judge
No,
Patterson.
it was Mr. Reed.
Yeah, and it was,
Charge.
and it was specifically discussed that there were these other pending charges and that the plea in that case had no effect on these, and these were still pending and would still have to be dealt with. And I can recall the judge telling that to the defendant. So if he claims that he didn't understand that, I don't know how, because it was specifically discussed at the time. And this was never bundled all together. I would like to have gotten it all taken care of at that time, but Judge Patterson wouldn't do it because the other cases were the only one up for that day, and that's all he dealt with.
All right, well, the offer just got an addition to it. They will also dismiss the drug paraphernalia charge.
Your Honor, at this point, I mean, can I go into the conference room and go into the breakout room with Mr. Hale?
Yes.
That is a very, very smart move by the defense attorney. It's like, hey, Your Honor, this has changed. Can we have some time alone, off the record, so that I can talk to my client? Normally, you would have gone in and either pulled your client to the side, sitting at the table, whispered or something there at the deal, or could have gone to a meeting room in the courtroom. With the mobile / internet connection age of today, basically it would mean that they have to be put into a separate meeting room that only those two are in. Most courts will call that, in this kind of a situation, a breakout room. And that's what they're going to go to. We are going to stay with it, though, because there is some talk that happens ex post parte, and I'm going to refer to what that is and if it's going to cause any serious trouble or not as we go on. But grab a sandwich. I'm sorry, dinner arrived right before I started taping this particular episode. All right, back to the judge.
How does the court wish to proceed as it relates to the bench warrant?
I'm not sure yet. I'm waiting for Daniel to join us. I think he says he doesn't know anything about anything. I think Judge Patterson told him on the record he was supposed to be here. Also, when you talk to him, get his current address. He says he didn't get any mail. We sent stuff to him at the River Road address.
Do you have apartment 1 on there? I have 416 River Street, apartment 1, and we don't have anything that's been.
No, there's no apartment number on here, so maybe that's why it came back. Mr. Hale, stay right where you are. Mr. George is going to go in our conference room and I'll put you in a private breakout room. And I see if I can find out more about this probation violation that Judge Patterson issued. Now, I wasn't there, but according to Mr. Barnes, it was all understood that this wasn't going to be part of one play agreement. So, we'll see. Why didn't you come today?
Because I don't have a car, sir. But I'm trying to buy one by Saturday.
Well, don't buy one, because your license is going to be suspended if you get convicted of this.
I'm sorry. It's for my girlfriend to drive me.
Okay, well, that's a good plan then. Like I said, your probation officer stepped out. Maybe he could shed some light on this, so maybe he'll come in to help us. But right now, there's an open bench warrant with no bond for your arrest for failing to appear for a probation violation here. Hello, Miss Shelton.
That is the defendant for the next case. We won't hear for her again, at least during this case.
Let me see if I figure out about that.
Well, sir, is it possible because, like I said, I just started a new job. I'm just getting my life back together. I don't stay at that same address now, so I mean that's probably where I didn't um, receive that. But I did give all that info to my PO, and
Dude, this is not smart. Your attorney is not in the room to be offering testimony that basically your your defense attorney won't know about. Shush.
All right, well, we'll find out. I'm not sure what's going on, but you didn't show up. They waited 2 days, then they sent you something, you didn't answer it, and then they issued a bench warrant. So I'm trying to, and this was all Judge Patterson's, and I'm just trying to figure out what the deal is. I would have probably tried to deal with both cases at once, but I'm not sure what exactly was going on there, but.
I mean that's what I assumed was going on.
Well, that's not according to Mr. Barnes, who said you were explicitly told.
We had an offer on the table, Your Honor, for these other cases too, but he didn't deal with them. I had a global offer which would have contemplated all the cases. He only dealt with these ones and left the other ones and left these cases outstanding. So, if he had wanted to take the global offer, it would have taken care of these cases too. But the offer would have included pleading guilty to this driving suspended as well as the no ops.
So
and the
it's
other
essentially
cases.
the same offer you got here.
Yeah.
All right, I don't want to talk about that without having a lawyer here, but.
That's what the judge just referenced. It's kind of like, hey, we're starting with ex parte, which is basically a judge conversation with only one of the individuals in the case and not both. Usually it's not happening because you do not want information that is only available to one side instead of the other. Could easily come back on appeal saying, hey, you guys had this conversation I wasn't privy to. Hence why the judge is quickly trying to nip that in the bud. But the prosecuting attorney is smart to go ahead and say, hey, even if everything was together, he wouldn't have got a better break than what I'm offering him right now, which is actually good for the prosecuting attorney to do.
You were doing a very poor job on your probation, and your probation agent filed a probation violation petition. Let me look and see if I can.
Like I said, I understand that, sir. But like I said, with all that happened, my mother just passed, so everything just fell apart. And I want to listen to you. And then, like I said, get my life back together.
Who's your mother?
Amanda,
Who?
Amanda Hale.
Is your mom?
Yeah.
I don't know if I knew her. Sorry for your loss. I can't tell. Looks like Judge Patton was not very happy about this. You can't say I'm trying to get my life in order and then not do any of the stuff you're supposed to do as a condition of probation. So.
Yes, sir. I understand that's what job and everything else too. So I could just start over, start my counseling, and do it as I'm supposed to do, sir.
All right. I'm not sure that's going to make it, but we'll find out. All right. So, Mr. George, Mr. Hale is here. I did learn a little more. I still sure wish Dan Frazine would join us. The PV, Judge Patterson, and his PO are not very happy with him. He's on domestic violence probation, not reporting, not testing, missed multiple tests, not engaged in the group. So they did the probation violation hearing. He didn't show up.
Okay, we do have an adventure
So
to do. The defense attorney is now actually in a conference room, so he's connected mobilely via the Zoom platform.
I don't think Judge Madison wants to recall that.
So now they can actually join together in a Zoom room. I think that's what the judge is trying to code up at this point. A lot of the judges who are not really computer technologically savvy individuals are now ones that have to
Anyway, I'll
deal
put you in the breakout room so you can discuss the
tech.
traffic case with him that you actually represent him on. Mr. Hale, I want you to hit the button that says join here just in a minute. Miss Shelton, your lawyer, Mr. George, is in that conference room, and he just has to talk to his other client, but I appreciate you being here on time and in the right spot. How are you doing? All right, let's wait for your lawyer. So we all are.
Your Honor, while we're waiting for Mr. George to come back, I just got a procedural question about what's up for today in the Marquita Shelton case.
This one doesn't have anything to do. It's basically him asking about a different case that he's prosecuting, so it's fine. It won't be an ex post parte type conversation.
I have her on a driving suspended charge 21-2412, but it's my understanding that there's no insurance under the vehicle code that's being charged as a county prosecutor case in 21-2411 SM. And
That's correct.
So are we going to have somebody from the county prosecutor's office sign in when we get to her case?
I hope so. Deborah J. Davis is waiting there in the shadows.
There she is.
Marquita is here, sitting with me in the courtroom. And so this is one of those screwy ones that's half county and half ordinance. When Mr. George gets back, maybe we can figure something out.
I did relay an offer to Mr. George on our portion of the case.
Miss Halleck is here. Melissa?
I was sorry for some reason.
This guy got arrested, and I'm gonna bring him in before we're done. He's not exactly, he was your client. He didn't show up for his probation violation or rain.
Oh, yeah.
Looks like somebody beat him off. Looks kind of rough, but he's at the jail. And as long as you're gonna be here, I wanted to have.
Your Honor, do you mind if I mute myself? And I'd just like to call Miss Davis and ask her about their offer.
Yeah, that's fine. Go right ahead.
Okay.
And that's fine, because that's the offer on the next case.
Hello, Daniel. We're Lance Hale. I have a violation with him. Warrant. Yeah, why don't you go out to Miss Tester and log in?
And he's asking the other defense to go log in on the phone. Well, apologize. The tape did break up a little bit here from Middleton's courtroom. It does return shortly, and it returns before they actually will have the in final final kind of like advocation.
His claim is everybody knew where he was, and he didn't supposed to.
Judge is just going over the previous conversations.
So when Tim gets back, Tim's talking to him now in the breakout. Okay. He was supposed to be here live, but person and didn't show up, so it was, but, well, he misunderstood a lot.
Yes, he has.
All right, so, go down the line again and then, thanks. I didn't ask him anything, Melissa. I don't know how he got arrested or why he got arrested. He's also got some new charges.
Oh, new charges. This is not
He
good
has
for the
new
guy.
charges of home invasion, second degree, and assault and battery.
Home invasion?
Don't know what that's about.
My other Antonio Tate, it sounds like,
There's an open felony warrant for his arrest.
yeah, and I do have correspondence from him that he got his license back.
Well, that's a plus.
Yeah.
You know, some of these times it's like, hallelujah, they got their license back. But
That's
he's
a-
got other problems.
That's a different case coming up later. Again, as long as it does not involve the specific case that the defendant is for, it is not as post parte conversations. And Deborah Davis just picked up the phone, which means, of course, those two are now talking about that other case. We're just on a quick hold, and looks like, well, the defense attorney was back in Zoom for half a second. While we wait, looks like we'll go with 2 and 3 for the attack
That
line.
dumb door.
I thought it was a rock.
No, you gotta turn it.
I thought Kamara was gonna take it off the hinges there for a second. Just went right through it.
He's a nice kid. I
Super
was
nice
not very happy to see that case. Mr. Hale probably doesn't know how to close this. I'll bring Daniel in.
Alrighty, there is the defendant, and there
Let
is
me turn the record back on.
also
We're
now
gonna
we.
return to the matter of People versus Lance Appeal.
Sorry, Your Honor. Just
Primarily
second, Your Honor.
dealing with
Now back in the courtroom is the defendant, and also now from the. What is that? Actually, that is from the probation office. Okay, it's now also in the Zoom call.
his traffic matter, which is file 212065 and some related cases. Mr. Barnes offered to dismiss his paraphernalia charge and his other traffic charges. He met with his lawyer, Mr. George, in the breakout room. Mr. George, what do you want to do at this point?
Mr. Hale is gonna accept the plea, Your Honor.
The plea got better when John offered to dismiss that other paraphernalia charge. All right, Mr. Hale, however, as I explained, this is going to suspend your license. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
All right. Do you understand that by pleading to this charge, you'll be giving up your right to have a trial in front of a judge or jury? Do you understand that?
Yes.
If you had a trial, you'd have the right to be represented by an attorney. Mr. George has been appointed to represent you. You could also hire an attorney of your own choosing if you wish. If you had a trial, you'd have the right to have any of the witnesses for or against you subpoenaed to come to court so they could be questioned under oath. You would have the right to take the witness stand yourself and testify. But you don't have to, because you have a right not to testify, and if you did not wish to testify, the judge or jury could not hold your silence against you. And you have the right to be presumed innocent if and until the state was able to prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. You understand that?
Sure.
All right, Mr. Hale, you were placed on probation on October 5th on the domestic violence charge with Mr. Frazine as your probation agent. You got arrested 3 days later, or charged 3 days later on October 10th. So these are misdemeanor offenses that were committed while you were on probation. Do you understand these could also be part of the basis for your probation violation?
Yeah.
Where were you going on that day, October 8th, when you got pulled over?
To drop a car because I just wound up getting out of jail, and I had to find a place to stay.
All right, Judge Patterson let you out on October 5th, and 3 days later you got arrested for driving this car. Whose car was it?
It was my car.
Okay. Now this paraphernalia charge, let me see what that date was. That was on the same day. John, what was the paraphernalia?
John. John, well, I think John's still on the phone with Deborah. John. By the way, John's the prosecuting attorney. John, we're asking for you.
Mr. Barnes, what was the paraphernalia on the paraphernalia charge?
Oh, I'm sorry. I just answered. I didn't realize I still had
Yeah,
myself
you're on
muted.
mute.
Yeah, it was a methamphetamine, a glass methamphetamine smoking pipe, and some Suboxone packages without a prescription.
Good. Now, Mr. Reed joined us. I don't know if he's going to weigh in on this. Yes?
Is this the case in here?
Yes.
Thank you.
I apologize. I just went away from that right into this.
It's okay.
Mr. Reed?
Yeah.
Are you here to help us with Lance Hale?
Nope. I got my free bills from the city.
Oh, I love that one. Nope. I love that one. Oh God, you gotta give this guy a Cupid doll, or a card for a nice little deal from Krispy Kreme. That was good. Nope. It gets interesting. He does start backtracking a little, willing to help, but that original answer was just awesome.
And what's the question? I don't know. Maybe I can help
Well, all right. Mr. Hale. Who was his lawyer on the DV case? I think it was you.
you. Here's Tim. But oops.
You have Kate with me, TJ.
Mm-hmm.
If he shows up, he's got a felony warrant. But he did get his license back.
What?
I like that. What?
Just a minute, Melissa. We're struggling with it.
We're struggling with this one. Don't do us too.
Oh, I'm sorry.
His attorney on that case was Timothy J. Reed. So, TJ, I'm trying to drag you into this.
What is it? I don't even know what it is.
All right, it is file number 211811FY. He was charged with felonious assault, felony firearm, and you and the prosecutor worked out a plea agreement to domestic violence. On the 5th of October, he was placed on probation for DV, and your obligation to represent him at that point was completed. However, Daniel Frazine, his probation officer, is here. The defendant did a particularly poor job on probation, and Daniel filed a probation violation petition. He filed that petition on January the 18th for a probation violation arraignment. So he had not yet been arraigned on the probation violation. He pled, he didn't show up. The allegation is they violated his probation by failing to not violate any criminal law. Well, 3 days later, he got arrested for driving suspended. And the paraphernalia charge. Failed to report on a monthly basis. Failed to pay fines and costs. Failed to abstain from the use of alcohol or drugs and tests on demand. Failed to participate in treatment. So he issued the probation violation petition before Judge Pattison, which was set for Monday, January 13th. The defendant did not show up on Monday, January 13th, and Judge Pattison did a 48-hour hold before he issued the warrant. They also tried to mail something to the defendant at Custer Road, Colon, and he didn't show up. So Daniel, and plus he was supposed to be here today live and in person, and he's not. So TJ, you've not yet been reassigned to him because
I can't. I won't be reassigned to him. I'm no longer on the contract. So.
Oh, good point. Good point. So you can just mute your microphone and
Well, that's what I said. I'd be happy to help if I had something to assist, but it
All right,
appears
well,
his new charges
all right.
were after sentencing on my case. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. I like I said, if there was something in my file
Your
that this was,
obligation was completed on October 5th. All right, Daniel Frazine has joined us, and he is Lance's probation officer. And Daniel, it sounds like you and Judge Pattison were sick up and fed with what was going on here, and so you filed this petition. He says everybody knew where he was. He never got notice that he was supposed to be here on January 31st. What's your position here?
Had he called and reported regularly like he's supposed to, he probably wouldn't be as shocked, though I don't know why he would be shocked with his performance on probation. Obviously, you got to kind of wonder about his thought on sobriety when he's caught with Suboxone without a script only a few days after getting let out of jail on multiple charges, regardless of what they were pled to, and he had a meth pipe on him. He's missed several tests. I haven't talked to him since December 9th. So, no, this hasn't gone well at all. And he still hasn't gotten his substance abuse assessment. Every time he seems to get it scheduled, for some reason or another, they have to cancel or he has to reschedule. He's been on since October.
So he didn't report in December, January, or February, which is, well, Mr.
January or February. I talked to him in December, not January or February.
Well,
By the way, the individual they're talking about is Suboxone medication. Suboxone is one of the best. Oh, there we go. Just want to make sure I have it correctly, so I'm not misquoting anything about Suboxone. Here we go. So, Suboxone is a brand name medication commonly prescribed by clinicians to treat opioid use disorder, and it's a combination of two medications of back from when I was working at United Healthcare, buprenorphine and naloxone, supposed to help relieve symptoms of opioid withdrawal, suppress cravings, and reduce overdose risk. It also prevents the medication from being injected or misused. The FDA has also approved a generic version of Suboxone. Problem is, there are extremely many side effects for this medication, and it definitely must absolutely have a prescription to take it. Or you could get other symptoms, including muscle aches, restlessness, anxiety, tears, runny nose, excessive sweating, inability to sleep, yawning, fatigue, diarrhea, abdominal cramping, goosebumps on the skin, nausea, vomiting, blurry vision, rapid heartbeat, and high blood pressure. The drug stays in your system for 28 to 48 hours after you do it via the under tongue, which is the most common route for this medication to be done. On the medication. Alright, so with that, now we know at least what he had. Back to the court. We're almost done with it, and we'll wrap up part 2 once we do.
Are you at the River Street address
All right, move.
or the Custer Road address?
I'm at the Custer Road.
All right. Well, that's
Yeah,
where
I send it off to my PO.
that's where we sent the notice to you.
Your Honor, I just confirmed, he said 32201 Custer Road, Borough, Michigan.
That's what I have.
Again, not a good thing for this
Okay.
defendant.
Anyway, I called you.
I'm not going to intervene in that bench warrant.
All he has to do is turn himself in to the jail.
Yes. I'm going to set this DWS for sentence.
So,
March
will I have
13th.
a bar?
Yes. I think at 11 o'clock.
Same date, Your Honor.
Same date as your other 3 cases. Mr. Hale, there's an open warrant for your arrest for doing a very poor job on your probation and failing to report for the probation violation arraignment. I'm not going to supersede it. You need to come turn yourself in at the jail. You've got an excuse for everything, but you haven't contacted your probation officer since December. You got arrested on new charges 3 days after you got out of jail. You haven't paid on your other fine, and you didn't show up live and in person like you were supposed to. And your claim is they didn't send you notice, and I've got a notice in the file that they sent to your address. Plus, if you had ever contacted your probation officer since December 9th, you would have learned that you were supposed to be here. So I'm directing you, if you were here, I would take you into custody. So that was a felony charge that involved a felony firearm that was reduced to a domestic assault, and as Daniel said, it didn't go very well. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know if you lost your mother and you went off the rails. You've always been polite and respectful to me in our dealings, but we'll set this driving suspended for live in person here on March 14th at 11. I'm directing you to turn yourself into the jail on the bench warrant. You can get arraigned, and they'll set a bond, and you can get back to it and have to stop looking over your shoulder. All right, Mr. Hale, you got it?
So, sir, will I be arraigned the same day as I turn myself in?
Yes. My recommendation would be do it tomorrow, but if you don't do it tomorrow, you do it Monday. Do it early in the day before noon so they can get you processed, get you before Judge Pattison to be arraigned on the bench warrant.
Well, I get out of the job at like 2 o'clock, so yeah.
Well, if you turn yourself in at 3 o'clock, they'll arraign you the following morning. All right, you know what the deal is. And call your probation officer, but I guess we'll wait till you turn yourself in. All right, Daniel, thanks for your help.
Yep.
We'll come back, Mr.
See you at
Hostel.
4 o'clock.
All right, well, that took about 45 minutes that hadn't been scheduled, so we're a little bit behind, but Antonio Tate isn't gonna be here, so that'll speed things up.
Well,
All right.
Mr. Host,
So with that, we will leave Judge Middleton's court Do apologize. Normally I have somebody along with me to help direct traffic. My first attempt doing it live, so to speak, all by myself. And yes, I do have broad shoulders, so if you want to critique me, go right ahead and do so either at gcheroawards@gmail.com or in the comments below. Let's finish up, see if we can. There is a credit for getting enough of these glyphs to level 31. Let's see if we can do that at least. So we need 5 levels, we need about 170. Oh, there we go. Now see, you can always cash in higher level artifacts for lower level ones. You can't, however, really go backwards. You can't say, okay, I want to take 2 black to make 1 green. It's only higher ones can become lower ones. Alrighty, so we need enough for 2 more. 1 more click. And interesting, HWC has got a message out saying not to purchase the Aurora new skin coming out in a day or 2. But I'll have to take a look at that, and if it is something I agree about, I'll let you know. Either on the overnight episode or tomorrow morning's part 1. So let's see, there are a few 4-star requirements. Blades. Yeah, we can do that. And we can do that one too. Doink. Doink. Alright, so we're going to still need 4, so it's not going to probably be a great. So there, if we can get another Titan to 5-star, you can get that prize. Wait, what's that bottom one? 5 skins to 20. That's the next skin upgrade. I mean, artifact upgrade. 3 to 41. Oh, only need 1 more to go. Oh, that's because I got the 2 Yasmin ones already. Oh. Kira's closer. Let's do her to 41. Okay, so we're going to need about 200. And there is 41. So that should now move that one up to the claim line. There it is, another 75,000 gold. Now you'd have to do 9, and that's probably where we're going to call it. So as always, please make sure you do like, share, and subscribe. Get us to those goals of 5,000 views of 4 boxing extras and 1,000 subscribers for YouTube. So they start paying attention, sending us items, and we can send them to you, our lovely watchers of the program. CoinBase information below. Fill it out to get your free crypto and CoinBase Learn lessons to get yourself another $100 worth of crypto. And until we do meet in the overnight for the final portion of the nuclear war talk with Art Bell and Steven Starr, be kind to one another in Dominion. May all your fights win. Please, of course, like, share, and subscribe. And come join us for more as we continue on from day 1.